Last time out in the Championship, we got one score correct, and it was a pretty important game. Sheffield Wednesday against Middlesbrough, 23rd against 24th, both only on 1 point, and they drew 1-1. We got that bang on. They're both still the bottom two, so it didn't actually prove too much of a difference in the end, as neither team could get the upper hand, neither team could move out of that relegation zone, and they've both had very poor starts so far. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we're going to get straight into the predictions for the next round of fixtures. And we start off with Friday night's fixture, Blues against QPR. Excited for this one, and Blues were 5 unbeaten, but we have lost our last 2 games, both away to Watford and Preston. I think we can feel hard done by about losing both of them, but especially the Preston game. Losing 2-1, Preston only had 1 chance all game, and they scored it, and they end up winning 2-1. So it's a difficult one to take. It's especially difficult when you are the better team, you play very good football, but you can't take your chances, and you come out with a loss. I would have felt quite hard done by with a draw out of that game, so to lose it was very frustrating, but kind of shows you what's happening at Preston at the moment. I have spoken to some Preston fans, and they did say it was their worst performance so far this season, and they rode their luck and came away with the points, and that's all you can do. So fair play to Preston, but very disappointed to lose it as a Blues fan. QPR drew their last game 1-1 with Swansea. Decent start, 7 points from 7 games, but I'm hoping that Blues can get back to winning ways here, so I'll go for a narrow 1-0 win. We go into Saturday and start things off with Ipswich against Blackburn, and Ipswich have actually equalled the record for a newly promoted side in the first 7 games. They've managed to win 6 of them. They have been brilliant so far this season, and I'm wondering if they can continue. They have managed to win their last 2 games, both 1-0 away victories against Sheffield Wednesday and Southampton, and have the chance to make it a perfect week, 9 points out of 9 if they can get the win here. And they're playing against a pretty inconsistent Blackburn side. They lost their last game 3-1 against Sunderland, and they're very hard to get a read on. So for me, I'm going to back the home side to get that perfect week. Ipswich to win 2-1. Leeds face off against Watford next. Now Leeds are unbeaten in 5. They have drawn 2 of their last 3 games 0-0, so struggling to score, but they have kept 3 clean sheets in a row, so very hard to break down as well. Watford, they have been unbeaten in their last 3 games, drawing 2-2 with West Brom in their last one in midweek, and they're a hard side to beat as well, so I can see this being a tough fixture. I am going to go for Leeds to concede and lose that clean sheet run, and I'll go down the middle 1-1. Leicester against Bristol City is an interesting tie. Now Leicester, they seem to have kicked into gear. They won their first 4, but they were all by a 1-goal margin, and they hadn't really impressed as it was against teams you'd expect them to easily beat by a large number of goals. But since that 1-0 loss to Hull, they've beaten Southampton 4-1, and they've beaten a very informed Norwich side 2-0. The performances have stepped up, and I'm thinking that Leicester will run away with it now, even though they're not top yet. Bristol City, they have been on a good run. They have only lost 1 game so far this season. It was against Blues, and they are picking up a lot of points. They beat Plymouth 4-1 in their last game, so they've scored their most goals in a game so far this season in their last fixture. They'll be full of confidence, but I've just got the feeling Leicester will be too strong, so the Foxes to win 2-0. Middlesbrough against Southampton. Now, Middlesbrough are not doing great. They're bottom of the league. They picked up their 2nd point. It was against Sheffield Wednesday in midweek, a 1-1 draw. I got that score correct. But they're just really struggling. They're not scoring many. They're conceding too many. Obviously still haven't got their first win. They need something to click for them, because at the moment they are really in a downward spiral. Another team in a downward spiral has to be Southampton. After a brilliant start, they have now lost 3 in a row. In those 3 games, they've scored 1, conceded 10. I don't know what's happened to Southampton. They aren't playing well at all. They could make it an awful week, picking up 0 points from 9 if they lose this one. But I am going to back Southampton because they have more quality. They should be winning this game considering how poor Middlesbrough have started the season as a whole. So I'll go Southampton to win 1-0. Plymouth against Norwich throws up some big questions. Plymouth, they have lost 2 in a row. They lost their last one 4-1. Can they recover something here? Because 7 points from 7 games for a newly promoted side isn't bad at all, but they have only won 2 of their games. They need to start getting some wins and stop conceding so many goals. Norwich, in very good form at the start of the season. It has dipped a little bit, losing 2 of their last 3, but the last game was a 2-0 loss against Leicester. I think most sides will lose to Leicester this season. So can they get back on track? I think they will. I think it might be narrow, but part of me thinks maybe Norwich will just take all their anger out on Plymouth. But I will go for a narrow game because I will give Plymouth the respect they deserve. They have started the season decently. Maybe not points-wise, but good performances. So I'll go Norwich to win 2-1. One team struggling, the other are flying. Rotherham against Preston. Now, Rotherham have lost 5 of their 7, drawing 1 and winning 1. They've lost 2 in a row, conceding 5 and not scoring a goal. So Rotherham are in a bit of a slump at the moment. I'm expecting it to continue. I think they will be around the relegation zone by the end of the season. So I can't see them picking up many points in games like this, even though their win was against Norwich. Preston, I don't know what's happening there. Drew their first game to Bristol City, and then they've won 6 in a row. They're flying, top of the league. However, I think they were very, very poor against Blues. Yes, they won. Brilliant for them. You know, they got the points. That's the most important thing. But I don't think if they perform like that often, they're going to finish anywhere near the top of the league. Blues were very good. I think, to be honest, it was probably our best performance of the season so far. And, you know, we've picked up a fair amount of points. I'd say that was our best performance. So the fact we lost it was very frustrating for us. But we did make Preston look very, very average. And yeah, I just think if Preston play like that any more, then they will get found out. They are there for the taking if they play like that. It's just lucky for them that Blues aren't a clinical side. But as I say, respect to Preston because that's a sign of a good team. You win when you play poorly. You'd rather do that than do what Blues did and lose when you play well. So Preston, can they carry on this run? I think they will this weekend. I'm going to go for them to beat Rotherham, but I think when they play one of the big sides like Leicester, they'll lose it and then maybe the wheels will fall off a bit. Preston to win 1-0. Swansea take on Sheffield Wednesday. Now these are 2 of only 3 sides not to win a game so far this season. They did both draw their last game, however, Swansea drawing against QPR and Sheffield Wednesday drawing with other strugglers, Middlesbrough. So it's been an interesting start to the season, but these 3 sides, and obviously these 2 especially, are really struggling. Who's going to get the better in this game? Well, unfortunately, and I'm hoping it's not as boring as I think it'll be, but look away now, fans of Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to go 0-0. West Brom against Millwall looks like a difficult one to call. West Brom, they haven't won in 3. They're not full of goals at the moment, even though they were towards the start of the league. But they have drawn 2 in a row, so it's not like they're losing much either. They are quite inconsistent though, so it's difficult to call. And another team that's inconsistent are Millwall. They lost 3-0 to Leeds, then they beat Rotherham 3-0. So they are quite difficult to call as well. This is a tough one to call. I know this is not great analysis at all, but I don't really know where to go with this game. I'm going to play it safe and go with a 1-1 draw. Stoke against Hull. Now this is an interesting one because Stoke had lost 3 in a row without scoring, but they did manage to get back on the score sheet in a 2-2 draw against Huddersfield, which turned out to be Neil Warnock's last game as Huddersfield manager. Now Stoke, they were brilliant opening day, beat Rotherham 4-1, looked full of goals, but the goals had dried up. 2 goals in their last game. They will be hoping they can carry on scoring, but I'm not too sure because they're facing a difficult Hull side to play. Hull lost opening day, but since then, 6 unbeaten, 3 wins, 3 draws, and they've drawn 2 in a row. For me, I do fancy Hull in this one. Stoke have quality, but it's not quite clicking at the moment. So I'll go Hull to win 2-1. 2 teams looking for a perfect 9-point week. It's Sunderland against Cardiff. Now Sunderland, after those 2 opening losses, they have got into much better form. 5 unbeaten with 4 wins, and they've scored 11 goals in their last 3 games. So they are absolutely full of goals. They are flying. They've only conceded 2 in that time as well, so pretty strong defensively. Sunderland are having fun now, and they're looking like the Sunderland from last season. Cardiff, they have won 2 in a row. Maybe a bit surprising. One of them against Coventry. Coventry have been hard to beat this season, a lot of draws. But Cardiff look better than I expected them to this season. They've picked up more points than I thought they would in the first 7. So, decent start from Cardiff, definitely. Will either of these sides make it a perfect week? I think if I've got to back anyone, I've got to go for the home side. They've won their last 2 fixtures 3-1. So I'm going to go for Sunderland to win again 3-1. Finally, Monday night fixture, Coventry against Huddersfield. Now Coventry, very surprising start. They've only won 1 of their opening 7. They've drawn 4 of those, so plenty of draws, and they were all in a row. And then they lost their last one 3-2 against Cardiff. Coventry don't seem to have filled the voids of Gyökeres and Hamer just yet, but I'm expecting it to click very, very soon. Huddersfield have picked up 7 points out of their last possible 9, so very good from Huddersfield. However, their last match, the 2-2 draw with Stoke, was Neil Warnock's last game as Huddersfield boss. It had already been announced before the game, and for the next game, Darren Moore will be taking over. So will that give Huddersfield a new manager bounce here? It could, but I'm going to stick with those Coventry draws and go 1-1. So those are my predictions for this weekend's fixtures. Let me know down in the comments what your predictions are. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Up the Blues.